Hello, and welcome to the Smile Revolution. And yes, I am Princess Wow. I don't have to spell it. I usually do because it's right there on the bottom of the screen because I have this Baltimore accent. So anyway, we raise awareness to the healing power of a genuine smile. And thanks for coming live or on replay. Before I introduce you to my guest, Richard Skipper, I am going to read a couple of smile quotes. And yeah. So you know what? Okay. I'm going to read you. Okay. There's a book, The Value of a Smile by Wilbur D. Nesbitt. It's from like the 1920s. And I'm going to read this. Okay. The thing that goes the farthest toward making life worthwhile, that costs the least and does the most, is just a pleasant smile. The smile that bubbles from the heart that loves its fellow men will drive away the clouds of gloom and coax the sun again. It's full of worth and goodness too, with human kindness blent. It's worth $1 million and it doesn't cost a cent. There is no room for sadness where we see a cheery smile. It always has the same good look. It's never out of style. It nerves us on to try again when failure makes us blue. The dimples of encouragement are good for me and you. It pays a higher interest, for it is merely lent. It's worth $1 million and it doesn't cost a cent. A smile comes easily enough. A twinkle in the eye is natural and does more good than any long drawn sigh. It touches on the heartstrings till they quiver blithe and long, and always leaves an echo that is very like a song. So smile away. Folks understand what by a smile is meant. It's worth $1 million and it doesn't cost a cent. Isn't that great? Oh, thank you. We both have Baltimore accents. Well, mine's, I think, more thick than yours, Nancy. Anyway, yeah, I love that. And then The World According to Mr. Rogers, Important Things to Remember. I always love anything that Mr. Rogers says and does. Okay. Imagine what our real neighborhoods would be like if each of us offered, as a matter of course, just one kind word to another person. There have been so many stories about the lack of courtesy, the impatience of today's world, road rage, and even restaurant rage. Sometimes all it takes is one kind word to nourish another person. One kind, empathetic word has a wonderful way of turning into many. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so I am going to bring on Richard Skipper. You're going to be hearing, he's a singer, host, performer, and storyteller extraordinaire, and so talented, wonderful person. And he's bringing his show, Hello, Dolly. You'll hear all about it. Going to London August 5th. So let's see. Actually, let me show you the poster. Actually, I have the poster here. Wait a minute. Hold it one second. I do. Here we go. I'm going to show you the poster. August 5th, the Crazy Cox in London. And he's never been there. It's really exciting. Okay. So anyway, here he is. Okay, here we go. Hi, Richard.
Hello, Mindy. Hello, Mindy. Well, hello, Mindy.
Oh,
nice to have you here where you belong.
Thank you. That's so sweet. That's nice being serenaded.
Well, it's nice. I'm all about serenading. I know. I've said that if everybody would begin every day with a show tune, there would be no strife in the world. I truly believe that.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and dancing.
And dancing.
You know, I seem to be dancing almost every morning these days.
That's good.
It's a good way to start the day.
My Benny, my Maltese, he loves to dance. So we dance, and because his name is Benny, we dance to Benny and the Jets.
Oh, great. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I love it. I love anything Elton John does.
Yes, me too.
So anyway, and I see you have Princess Wow doll back there.
Princess Wow is always with me. She's normally on my top shelf looking down on me. So I've got all my talismans around me because like you, the Smile Revolution, I believe, these images that are around me, my office, I am surrounded. You've been in my home. My office is surrounded with photos of the people that I've worked with and the people that I've gotten to know in my lifetime. And I just look up and I see Carol Channing and Bob Keesh and Captain Kangaroo and, Carol Cook and so many people. And it makes me feel good each day.
Oh, you met Captain Kangaroo?
I never met him, but I've got this great photo of Carol Channing. Carol and I were very good friends.
I know.
And so I've got this great photo, and when she saw it, she signed it. So it's hanging over my door.
And that's really great. And that's wonderful. Great. So anyway, Richard, I'm really excited about your new project. Well, it's kind of like a project you've had for a long time, but now it's celebrating Hello Dolly's 60th anniversary.
Right. It's an evolution.
Yeah, right.
For those who don't know, for 20 years, you can Google it. It's all there. Right. I performed as Carol Channing, and I performed all over the country, around the world. I performed on Windstar Cruises. I headlined in Atlantic City, Las Vegas. And when that came to an end, when I was ready to move on, Carol Channing and I were talking, to drop a name, and she said, "You know more about the history of Dolly than anyone that I know, including myself." She said, "You should chronicle this." And so I was in Palm Springs. This is at least 20 years ago almost. I was in Palm Springs, and someone suggested that I get in touch with Roberta Olden. And Roberta Olden was Ginger Rogers' assistant at the end of Ginger Rogers' life.
Right.
Ginger Rogers replaced Carol Channing in Hello Dolly. So I reached out to Roberta Olden. I said that this is a project that I'm interested in, and I would like to interview her. And she was my first interview. And she said, "Well, let's meet at a country club," which made perfect sense. She didn't know who I was. So we met at the country club, and I was about 5 minutes into the interview. And she said, "I think we need to stop." And I thought, oh my God, what have I done wrong? I'm sorry, I thought my phone was off. Let me turn this off. That's Roberta Olden calling now. And, okay, hold on a second here. And so I want to turn this off. Bear with me for 1 second, Mindy.
Okay, sure. Yep.
This is live, everyone. Live or Memorex. So anyway, we went back to her home, and she showed me Ginger Rogers' journals. Ginger Rogers' mom kept these journals, and she had specific accounts of opening night and closing night. And I was off and running. And then I would finish that interview, and I would say, "Who do you suggest I should interview?" And little by little, everybody kept suggesting somebody. And before I knew it, I had 500 interviews under my belt.
Wow.
And then 1,000 interviews. So I created this website, callondolly.com.
Which is right down there. Yep.
And my goal was to write a book, and it still is in the back of my mind, that someday this will become a coffee table book, because so many incredible actresses played the role. So move up, COVID happens. You and I both at the same time started doing our shows. But last year I was asked to perform, and I've got my cup here, at Capitol Cabaret in Washington, D.C. I kicked off their week. And so I said, yes, I'll put a show together. And I went to Washington, D.C., and Mindy, it was like every ounce of my being came alive again. I said, this is where I belong.
Well, because you hadn't performed in years.
I had not performed in almost 4 years.
Right.
I ended up taking the show to Provincetown last summer, did very well there. And then I wanted to do a show to celebrate my birthday, February 11th. And I was already working in that direction. I had asked James Beaman, phenomenal director, by the way, to be my director. And we were talking about doing an evening of Richard Skipper. And then I was asked to do a presentation at Valley Cottage Library on January 16th, which was the 60th anniversary of Hello, Dolly opening.
Right.
Now, I'm working with a career coach now, Patrice McKinley. Mm-hmm. And Patrice and I were talking one day, and she said, so how are you going to make your show commercial? How are you going to book it around the country? How are you going to do these things with it?
Right.
And I said, let me think about this. And I was lying in bed, and all of a sudden this idea hit me. Rather than trying to create two shows, the Valley Cottage Library show on Hello, Dolly, and my upcoming show, why not create a show celebrating the history of Dolly? So I called James Beaman. I said, would you be interested in doing this? And he said, oh my God, yes. And then he suggested Dan Pardo as my musical director. The first day that we met in December, we went into a rehearsal studio. We started talking. Dan sat at the piano and he started tinkling underneath the piano. And before I knew it, it was like fireworks were going off. All three of us were bouncing ideas off of each other. And I had the basic framework of what I wanted to do, but the structure of the show is all James Beaman. I give credit where it's due.
Great.
Yes.
So, okay. So that was this past December?
No, we opened, we started rehearsals in December. We opened February 11th at the Laurie Beechman Theater.
Right.
I'm happy to say Super Bowl Sunday, we were completely sold out. They were turning people away at the door.
That's
so we
amazing.
did it again for March 29th. I did it and we sold out again. And then I took it to Palm Springs and I took it to Santa Monica, and both of those shows sold out.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah. So now we're taking it to London.
I know.
London, if you're watching, help me to sell out.
I know. I'm like, it's just so exciting. And I love that venue, the Crazy Cox. Is it Crazy Cox, right?
Crazy Cox. COQS for anyone wondering.
Right. And it's Piccadilly Circus.
It's Piccadilly Circus. I've never been to London. And Hello, Dolly has a rich history in London. And not only will I be doing this show, but next month, Imelda Staunton is opening in Hello, Dolly with a revamped, reimagining, and new look of this iconic musical. So it's very exciting.
That is so neat. So wait, but and all of your shows, you have somebody from the cast, like who has been in it, right? At the end.
My first show, I had Leroy Reams, and Leroy Reams not only was Cornelius in the 1977 revival of Hello, Dolly, he directed Carol Channing in her last revival of Dolly, and he has directed probably 25 actresses in this role. Madeline Kahn, Joanne Worley. He did Nicole Crisson in Paris. Leslie Uggams. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Christine Toy Johnson in an all-Asian production of Dolly, which I saw. And so, with this, so he was my first guest. And then when I did it in March, Lorna Dallas was my guest. And she had played Irene Malloy opposite Danny LaRue in London. And she's going to be my guest for my shows in London. And so when I went to Palm Springs, my guest was Jason Gras, who has never done Dolly, but he was very good friends with Jerry Herman. And I wanted to get a perspective of Jerry Herman through his eyes.
And Jerry wrote it, right?
Yes, Jerry Herman wrote the music and the lyrics.
Okay.
And then when I went to Santa Monica, my guests were Joanne Worley and Mary Jo Catlett, who were involved in the original Broadway production.
That's amazing. It's amazing, Richard. Now, okay, so why is it so successful? It's because explain it to the audience who maybe they haven't seen it.
I don't think that there is a person on this planet who is not familiar with Hello, Dolly. They either know the movie, they've seen a production somewhere, they've done it in high school.
Okay.
Right now, I mean, I get Google alerts for Hello, Dolly. And every single day, I get Google alerts for different theaters that are doing Hello, Dolly. So it's still, since it opened,
it's still a phenomenon 60 years later.
60 years later, and it's, to me, it's a show about taking chances. If you know the story, all the characters step out of their comfort zones and they take a chance. And that's what life is about.
Yeah.
And we live in a world right now that's topsy-turvy.
Right.
You were doing it with the Smile Revolution, and I'm doing it with Hello, Dolly.
Right. Yeah. So that's great. That's really neat. So it's so exciting, Richard. And do you have any, after London, do you have other, or you're in the works working on?
I've got irons on the fire. There's going to be a major English production of Hello, Dolly in France. In November. And I've already reached out to a theater, and they're interested in booking me.
Great.
So I may be going to Paris.
That would be good. Have you been there before?
Never.
Oh, never. Cool. That's really neat. Okay, so let's see. What else going to ask you about? Okay, so it started. Okay, so explain to the audience, because I was reading about that this morning. What was going on in 1964? There was like a background with like all the strife, everything that was going on, and then this launched in January 1964, and then the Beatles came to America February. Like,
there are so many interesting historical aspects of what happened around this production. Before getting to Broadway, shows in those days used to go on the road. So their first stop was the Fisher Theater in Detroit, and their first preview of the show was November 18th, 1963.
Okay.
Think about that date for a minute.
Yeah.
November 18th, 1963. That Friday, Kennedy was assassinated.
Right.
And so here they are trying to open a show that is all about taking chances and love and hope and everything. And the entire world, especially the United States, was in mourning for the president of the United States.
Right.
And their next stop was the National Theater in Washington, D.C. And their opening night, the Kennedys were scheduled to be there.
Wow.
Because the Kennedys were very good friends with Carol Channing.
Okay.
So she would arrange for them to be at the opening night. So there was that pall over this.
Yeah.
So on their opening night, so the show goes to New York. It opens on January 16th, 1964. And the next month, the Beatles hit American shores.
February 9th.
Yes. And the whole way that people listen to music was changing.
Right. Yeah.
So this show ran for 7 years against the backdrop of the Vietnam War, the gay rights liberation movement, civil rights. As a matter of fact, when Pearl Bailey was doing Dolly on Broadway, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And she, as the head of this production, had to make a decision as to whether or not they would even go on and do the show that night. And so then the first international tour went to Vietnam, and they performed for the troops. Yes.
Really?
With Mary Martin. And so, again, everything, the 60s were a turbulent time of change.
Right.
And don't you feel that we're going through that again right now?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, women are fighting for their rights. The LGBTQ community are fighting for our rights.
I know. Yeah.
And
all the wars.
Anti-Semitism is on the rise.
Right. And then politically.
And politically, and I don't care what side you're on.
We're not talking about politics.
We're not talking about politics, but I will say this: operate from a moral compass.
Right.
That's all I want to say.
I know, exactly. Right.
Yes.
So anyway, but the other thing that I find interesting is that Louis Armstrong came out with the Hello Dolly LP in 63 or 64. Was it?
No, it came out in 64.
64.
And when it hit in March of 64, and the Beatles had been number one on the charts for weeks from the moment that they came to this country.
Right.
They were number one.
Yeah.
Louis Armstrong hits the airwaves with his version of Hello Dolly, which is very different, of course, from the way the song is performed in the show.
Okay.
But he put his own stamp on it.
Yeah.
And when Louis Armstrong, when that song took over, and everybody in the country, it was used as the campaign song for Lyndon Johnson. It was the theme song for Oscar Mayer Wieners. Everybody in the country, I can't think of a major star that did not perform that song.
And I thought that I read that. Yeah, go. Sorry. Okay, sorry.
As a matter of fact, as I was saying, Imelda Staunton is about to do Dolly at the Palladium in London. And one of the most famous concerts to ever play the Palladium in London was Judy Garland and Liza Minnelli. And they sang Hello, Liza, Hello, Mama.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. Now, I was going to say that I thought it said that that album with Louis Armstrong topped the charts higher than the Beatles, which is amazing.
It went off the charts.
It went off the charts.
And it continued to stay there. And he was the oldest artist at that time to ever have a number one hit record. And I'm going to tell you, someone older than him just knocked him off the charts.
Who?
As the number one, as the oldest.
Who?
Brenda Lee for Rocking Around the Christmas Tree.
Oh, wow.
It went to number one this Christmas.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's really neat. So anyway, tell my audience exactly like what your show is like. It's the history, and it's also you're singing from the show.
My director, James Beaman, he refers to the show as a musical TED Talk.
Okay.
I sing the songs from the show.
Okay.
I'm singing a couple of songs that were not in the show.
Okay.
That were written specifically for come see the show and find out. So I sing the songs. I tell the history going all the way back to 1835 when it began, because the evolution to get to Dolly started with a show called A Day Well Spent by John Oxenford. And that was in 1835 and opened in London. So again, full circle.
Back to London, yeah.
We take questions from the audience before the show starts. We pass out question cards to the audience. I don't see any of the cards. They are screened by my stage manager. And then throughout the show, I answer those questions. And we have a lot of film clips from the various people who have played Dolly talking about their experiences playing Dolly. And those film clips were filmed specifically for me. These were not clips that you will see anywhere else.
Right. Wow, that sounds amazing, Richard.
So, the show runs about 75, 80 minutes. And it's a very audience interactive show because I'm all about the audience. Once my audience is in place, they are as important, if not more important, than anything I do on that stage.
Yeah, well, I'm very interactive too.
Yes. I love your show. It's great.
Thank you. Thanks anyway. Yeah, so that sounds amazing, Richard. It's so exciting. It really sounds amazing. So, okay, what else am I going to ask you? So Carol Channing really was the one who got you doing your whole...
It was Carol Channing, and 10 years ago, I threw a brunch at Sardi's that I put together myself. I paid for it myself. I did all the legwork, and I had people fly into New York from the various productions of Dolly. The night before we did the brunch, this is the 50th anniversary of Dolly.
Oh.
Jerry Herman called me and he said, Richard, if it wasn't for the work that you do, this would be a forgotten musical.
Really?
Yes. A lot of people don't know the history. I mean, there are theaters, and anyone who's watching this show, whether you have, you belong to an organization that's looking for a fun night, or theaters, whatever, the history of this show against, as we talked about, the landscape of America in the 60s and beyond is, and I make it entertaining and fun. I don't get it. It's not like I'm doing a lecture.
Right.
You know, it's all about, for me, you know, Richard Skipper Celebrates, it's about celebrating, celebrating life, celebrating each other, celebrating taking chances.
Right. Yeah, that's great. That's really neat. And let's see. Okay, I'm trying to think what else to ask you about the show. Okay, so what else did you want to tell us about what you're doing?
Well, go to richardskipper.com.
I have that down there.
You know, and or go to Crazy Cox in London and reserve. I mean, as an artist, and you know this better than anybody,
I do.
A lot of people will go, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming.
Right.
But they don't reserve.
They don't take action until, I know.
And the venues get nervous because they go, are we going to have an audience for this show?
Right.
And they also staff these shows based on the number of reservations they have. So number one, if you're in London and you're seeing this, I would love to see you. Wear red and come to the show and let's celebrate. If you're not in London and you have friends in London, forward this to them. Let them know about the show.
Yeah.
And tell them to say that you heard about it on Princess Wow, the Smile Revolution show.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's see. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you know, your history, a little bit about you as a performer too, just so people know?
Well, I mean, for those who have seen, I mean, I've told these stories a million times, but I grew up on a tobacco farm in South Carolina. I'm a product of 1960s television, 70s television, the variety show. That was the show business that I wanted to be a part of. And so as soon as I knew what show business was, I wanted to be a part of it. And so when I was 13, I made my debut with my local community theater in Mame, another Jerry Herman show. And then I was reading a book called The Magic of Believing by Claude M. Bristol. Claude M. Bristol says, set your mind on a goal like a homing pigeon and go after it with dogged determination. This was August 5th, 1974. I'm reading this book. I closed the book and I went in and said to my mom and dad, 5 years from today, I'm going to New York. And they laughed. They said, sure.
Right.
Mindy, 5 years later, I arrived in New York.
To that day.
And I've never looked back. And I'm all about looking forward. But I had a great mentor. Pictures right here. This was Florence Epps. There she is. Florence Epps. And she had a playhouse in her backyard. And I used to go to her backyard every Wednesday and Thursday. And we would do scenes from classic plays. We would read biographies. She would mention a name like Carol Channing. And she would say, tell me 3 things that Carol Channing is famous for. And if I couldn't name 3 things, she would close the book and she would say, our lesson is over for today. I will see you next week. And I would leave, she said, come back knowing as much as you can about Carol Channing.
Oh,
And
wow.
I would go to the local library and I would go into the index in our very small theater section, and film and television theater. And I would go into the back of these books and I would go through the index. And every book that had her name in it, I would check out. My parents came to pick me up one time. I had a laundry basket with 20 books in it.
Wow.
And I would go and I would come back. I couldn't wait to get back to her next week. And I would say, this is what Carol Channing's known for. This is what she's done. And she did that with every artist because she instilled in me that every time I step on stage, every time I step in front of a camera, not only is it me doing what I do, but I'm carrying the mantle of every artist that has come before me with me. And I think that's why, especially with this show that I'm doing now, that I have such a healthy respect for what got us to this point. You know, the kind of show business that I aspired to be a part of doesn't really exist anymore, except when I create it.
That's great. Yeah. Now I know creating your own shows is like, it's amazing. It's an amazing gift that we're able to do it.
And, you know, and for everybody out there, if you're thinking about it, you know, just yesterday, I heard that a dear friend of mine passed away. I found out this morning that another friend of mine passed away.
I know.
Thank you. I lost my mom in March.
Yeah.
None of us are getting any younger. And so my advice to everybody watching is, like in Hello, Dolly, get out of your comfort zone and take chances.
Yeah. Well, that's what, you have to, because this is your life and this is it. You don't want to like be at the end of your life and you regret.
What is the worst thing? If someone says no to me, what are their reasons for saying no? One of my favorite books is The Four Agreements.
Right.
And one of the four agreements is that it's not about you. So don't
take anything personal.
You don't take it personally.
Right.
So anything, you know, if someone says, I mean, the big issue that I am finding in today's world is the lack of response. I don't know if you experience that, but I've talked with so many people and they experience the same thing. I send out a pitch letter about my show, or I send a press release to a publication saying, you know, I've got this show that's coming in. Would you be interested in doing an article on me? And I do take those chances. But getting people to respond is gotten harder and harder and harder. And everybody, you, me, everyone watching this show right now, all we want is to be acknowledged.
Right.
That's it.
Well, I think
just simply say, we received your press release. We're looking it over.
Right. Now I know.
Your press release. We're not interested.
Right.
We received your press release. What are the next steps we need to take? And that's how I live my life.
I think people are just inundated with so many emails. And I think that I don't know. A lot of people can't seem to, it's like an overload.
My response to that is get an assistant.
Right. Now I'm just saying, but I think
I know you are.
No, I agree. Yeah. I agree with you. No, you're right.
Yeah. Because it takes very little effort to acknowledge other people. Very little effort.
Well, you're very good. You're very on top of everything. You seem to be, I know you are. You're like very responsive to things. And I try to be too. Sometimes some things slip through, but.
Well, I don't know that you've never been responsive to me.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying. I'm like, no, I've always been responsive to you.
You've always been responsive. You've always been there.
Yeah. So anyway, well, I'm so glad we got to talk about Hello, Dolly, and I got to learn a lot more about everything you've been doing. I didn't realize this until doing more research. So it's been really good to learn how you're like the expert, like one of the biggest experts. It's everybody keeps saying that you know more than like, not just, you know, Carol Channing, but a lot of people have thanked you so much for keeping it alive.
Well, you know, some people may think I'm obsessive about it, but I love the show. It brings me, when I sing those songs, to me, it's like endorphins go right through me. I'll tell you a little secret. Every night at 9 o'clock, I go into my backyard. We have a hot tub, and I go in by myself, and I run the lyrics through my head. As many times as I've done it, I do that every single night. I'm not singing out loud so that the neighborhood can hear me.
Right.
But I run these lyrics, and Liza Minnelli, there's a new documentary about her, and she said that her greatest teacher was Charles Aznavour, because Charles Aznavour taught her that every song was a 3-act play. And so Liza,
really, that's interesting.
She would dissect the songs, and I do the same thing. And so as many times as I've done the songs, when I'm in London, the audience is going to be different from the audience that
definitely.
And I am performing the show at the Actors Home in Inglewood on the 26th of this month. That audience is going to be different. So when I walk into a room, I'm really trying to get a gauge through my opening song about who is in the audience.
Okay.
It's not about me just getting up there saying, "Look at me, everybody. I can sing. I can tell a story." It's about the audience.
Right.
And the audience, if I even feel that the audience is slipping away, that would be, detrimental to me. I want the audience to have as much fun sitting in the audience as I'm having on stage telling this story.
That's great. Well, you're so talented, Richard.
Well, thank you.
I mean, you really are. You're so multi-talented. So I'm so glad that you're doing this, and it sounds amazing. I hope to see it. I'm sure I will.
Well, I'm doing it again in New York for those who can't get to London.
Right.
On September 29th.
Okay.
And my guest star that evening will be Eden Castile. She is phenomenal, and she has a show celebrating the legacy of Madeline Kahn.
Oh.
And so September 29th is Madeline Kahn's birthday.
Okay.
And so we're going to be celebrating Madeline Kahn that night.
Oh, that's really neat.
And it's exciting for me because every show is different.
Now that's going to be at Laurie Beechman?
At the Laurie Beechman, September 29th.
Okay. And where is that exactly so people know?
It's on 42nd Street off of 9th Avenue.
Right.
8th Avenue. Yes.
It's Theater Row, that area.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Is there anything else that you would like to add to?
Yes.
Anybody? Yes. Okay, good.
I am a fan of Princess Wow.
Oh, I know. I see that underneath. That's like so adorable.
I am. Look at me. I'm a fan.
There's Princess Wow there.
Yes. I love what you do. I think it's needed and it's important. And, and everyone should get on this bandwagon because it's very important.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Richard. It means a lot to me that you're such a fan of mine and what I do and the Smile Revolution.
No, I love it.
Thanks. Well, we need more joy and fun in the world.
And, and you introduced me, is it Sue Kreitzman? Kreitzman. And I was watching the video with her the other day and, and hopefully I'm going to meet her in London. I hope.
Well, she said she's eating it. She told me she will.
She is exciting to me. And she said something, and I know because you've got a song in your show called Beige.
Right.
And she said, I'm allergic to beige.
No, she said, wait a second. Wait, don't wear beige, it may kill you.
Yes.
That's her slogan.
Right.
And so when I found that song by my friend John Cruise, I immediately bought it and sent it to her in London. And she just couldn't believe it. And so it ended up in my show because
I agree with her.
Yeah.
Right. And Kay Thompson had a great song, Think Pink, from Funny Face. Do you know it?
No, I don't know. Actually, I've got to find it.
After today's show, look it up. Think Pink.
I will.
Kay Thompson.
Because I love pink.
It's all about pink.
Oh, great. Now I have to hear that. So so I'm so glad that you'll hook up with her. She's like my god.
Well, we haven't connected yet, but I'm hoping. No,
you will. You will. No, she told me she definitely wants to meet you. So it'll work out. She's just like so busy, but she's amazing, as you can tell from the PBS thing that I sent.
It's just incredible.
Interview, and she's very special and wonderful person. I mean,
I want to meet all of your color people in various shades of red. That's my goal.
Okay.
So
all right. Well, we're working on it. I know.
I want an audience of red.
They're all very special, wonderful people. So yeah, and I'm so excited for you to experience London. You're going to love it.
Well, David Merrick, who was the producer, he was known for David Merrick Red. His office everything was red. His desk was red. The carpeting was red. The curtains were red. Everything about him. And Hello, Dolly, the Harmonia Gardens, it's all about red, red, red. I mean, a lot of people think of Barbra Streisand in the gold dress in the movie. And Barbra Streisand said that the reason that she wanted to get away from red because she didn't want any comparisons to any of the Broadway dollies.
Oh, okay.
When she was doing the movie, the show was still on Broadway. So that's why she went in gold.
Okay.
But if you know the story, red is the reason Dolly is in red is red is about life. It's blood. It's our life stream. And it's all about rejoining the human race. That's why Freddie Whittup, who did the original costumes, put Carol Channing in a red dress.
Oh,
and every Dolly on Broadway has been in a red dress.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting to learn that.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, well, I think we covered a lot, and I'm really grateful. Yeah.
It means a lot to me that you said yes to doing this, because that's what life is about. Say yes. I'm all about numerology. Today's a 4 as we're taping this. So I seek 4 yeses every day.
Okay.
And I, not only am I seeking 4 yeses, but I give away 4 yeses every day. And it's important that you do that.
Okay, good. All right, well, great. Well, I'm grateful that you took the time to be on my show.
Thank you.
And it's been really a pleasure talking to you, Richard, as always. And
thank you so much.
I'm very happy and excited for you.
Thank you. And
I think it's gonna
hello, London. I'm coming your way.
I know. Oh, I can't wait to hear all about it when you come.
I can't either.
I can't wait to hear it. You're just London's one of my favorite places in the entire world.
I'm so excited.
You are going to love it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. So anyway, all right. So I'll be talking to you soon.
Okay.
Much love to you.
Love you.
Okay. Love you. Bye. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Richard Skipper, and live or on replay. And anyway, so next week I have an exciting show. I'm starting a series of the art and music world in New York, downtown, from the 80s. So I have next week the pioneers of the 80s East Village gallery scene, Doug Milford and Lisa McDonald, Jim C. and Nina Seigenfeld. I hope I'm saying her name right. Anyway, so that's next week, and I hope you can tune in. It's going to be really exciting, and I have more exciting guests on the way. So that's really great. I'm really excited. Oh, good. Nancy. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Nancy. And so anyway, but Gumby wants to say hello and give you a big hug and a smile before we leave. Yes, I know. Next week, I'm excited too. It's going to be really good. And these were like stars of the East Village art scene at the height of its. Anyway, you'll hear all about it. It's really exciting. Anyway, so that's about it. Unless someone else wants to say hi. Oh, here. Okay. I'm just feeling very silly these days and very kind of, I don't know, I'm just having fun. Okay. So anyway, lots of love, and share it. If you want to share my show, I would be happy to have more people watching. That would be great too, if you can do that. And if you feel inspired. And I'm going to sign off with my, with my credits. See you soon. Love you. Bye. It's called the Smile Revolution that comes, goes round and back to you. So smile, smile, smile. simple smile will do. Smile, 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 and come back to you. Bye.